Hello, everybody, and welcome to NMI podcast exploring the worlds of movies, video games, and TV shows. I'm your host, Nathan. How's everybody doing today? We've entered a new week. The lurky shadows await ahead of us. And today I'm joined by Jordan.
Hello.
Hey, man, how's it going, dude?
Pretty good, man. It's been a nice weekend, nice time. Had a great chat with you guys last week, and yeah, looking forward to getting into the nitty-gritty of our today's topic.
The nitty gritty indeed. Honestly, we are going to be getting into a spoiler-filled discussion for the recent and latest entry in the Resident Evil film franchise, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. Not that I call it a city, but we'll get to that later. And honestly,
It's like welcome to Raccoon Village. Welcome to Raccoon Housing Estate.
this is we're skipping ahead, people, but we might as well just say it now. This is not Raccoon City. This is Raccoon. Yeah, I can't even describe it. And so forewarning, Jordan hasn't played any of the Resident Evil games.
That's technically a lie. I have played the fourth Resident Evil, back on the Wii in I think it was the 2000s, whenever it came out.
The good old
And
days.
I'm familiar enough with the franchise that I know enough about the new games, that being Resi 7 and 8, but I didn't really play 1 and 2 is what Nate's referring to here.
Honestly, I definitely recommend going back and playing the the remake of Resident Evil 2. It's
Mm.
brilliant. Resident Evil 3, not as much, to be honest. We can have a discussion on that another time. But yeah, people, we went away, we watched the movie, and also I'm gonna have to initially give credit because I stopped watching the Mila Jovovich movies, the Paul W.S. Anderson ones, because
Mm.
they just got stupid. And
But they
I
were
think
very entertaining.
that's the thing. I've actually bought them. Amazon were doing a deal, all 6 films for £16, and I got it for like 10 because I had like a voucher. And I was like, you know what?
That's
I'm
pretty
gonna
good.
buy them. Yeah, I'm gonna rewatch it, watch the laser grid scene from the first one again because we all love that.
Hmm.
And I got to give credit to the second movie because it was actually quite accurate to the game. Well, the third one game at least. That's when they started mixing things up. But yes,
Mm.
people. Just to give you a little insight as we go into this, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City is based on the property from Capcom. It stars Kaya Scodorino, I hope I pronounced the name correctly, as Claire Redfield, Hannah John Heyman as Jill Valentine, Robbie Amell as Chris Redfield, Tom Hopper as Albert Wesker, Avon Georgie as Leannis Kennedy, and McDonald, sorry, as William Birkin. Honestly,
I thought you were
it's
going to
been a week,
say
people.
Neil Diamond.
Get him singing along into the music, into the film, dude. That'd be an amazing intro. But
Mm.
yeah, so Jordan, right? Let's just let's just get straight into it. What are your initial impressions of this film?
So, I mean, to be honest with you, my impressions going in were not very high. I obviously know that any game film that comes out, you should always take with a pinch of salt. I felt like this was the salty burger. It was had too much seasoning, um, and not a lot of substance. But I enjoyed it because it was an entertaining film with the group of people we hang out with, right? Um, and I think they did a lot of things differently to the previous films that had existed. So, you know, you had the Mila films back in early 2000s, and you got a little bit of the original story, or at least, hints and tips, here's the house where they go in and they do all the stuff, and there's this whole big plot. But then you also have the second film that brings you into the more Raccoon City stuff. And this movie, that came out recently, is just it does all those things better, but it doesn't mean that the whole thing was well made. I mean, I think it looked really good as well.
Do you know what it feels like? Someone's invited you to a barbecue,
Mm,
and no one specified what kind of barbecue it was, and everyone's bought everything they love, and they just bought it all for everyone to eat.
yeah.
I feel, and it's trying to stuff you with tons of different foods and stuff you'd really you like. Oh, enjoy this. You'll enjoy this. You'll enjoy this. But I think you come away from this with a bit of a food coma. There's just too much going on,
Mm.
and I mean, for me, I I wasn't really fond of it, to be honest. I I I had a lot of people were coming into this film going the CGI looked bad, and I was like, you know, bad, and I was going, you know what? I'll give it that. Like I've watched sci-fi on TV show films, you know, the sci-fi this, and also I can make if CGI isn't great, I could give it to the narrative. Now I'll be
Mm.
honest with you, some of the CGI in the film wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. The
Yeah.
liquor, which we'll get into in a little bit, it was okay for the budget they had. I mean, just to
I
let
mean,
make you
it
aware,
was like the
people,
only bit of CGI they had that I can remember anyway.
the final big CGI villain at the end and the
Yeah,
dog.
yeah, no, that was. I just mean like, I think that was the first thing I remember seeing throughout the entire film. Because like the rest of it was like, it was very. It felt like I was watching a very elaborate stage play. Where you
Yes.
go from like scene to scene to scene. And I just imagined like a set piece moving around in the background. Because there wasn't a lot of moving shots. It was a lot of people being in places.
I mean, we previously had a discussion on our Matrix talk about how some of the sets felt like stages.
Hmm.
Now, it's interesting to look at this film, and now obviously some of them were stages,
Hmm.
but this film had like almost a tenth of the budget in the Matrix. So just to make your people, this movie had a $25 million budget. The
Hmm.
original Resident Evil film, I'm going to look it up now because I want to confirm this, but I swear to God, the original Resident Evil film had a budget of about 33 million. So I want to, it's like I really should have googled this
Well, it
beforehand,
has not been
but
adjusted for inflation.
that's the thing though, right? Like even with adjustment for inflation, it's a case of that'd still be lower today.
Are
But
you sure?
33 million a long time ago would be much higher today for inflation.
Yeah. But what I mean is like surely that means it would let's say it's double what it is now. Like that'd be like 60 million on a movie. And that film had a lot of CGI and that was pricey, right? I mean it wasn't amazing CGI, but they had a lot of actors, they had a lot of props and sets and all kinds of crazy shit. Whereas this felt like it was filmed, you know, in a very small town. Like they just rented a town out to this fucking studio to make a film.
So it's about so the budget today would be about 51 million
Okay.
with inflation. So it's double the budget of this film.
Yeah.
And if you took that in terms of that film, of if you calculate it at the same time, it'd be about 20 million. It'd still be about 20 million difference with inflation. So
Mm.
I'm just going into this film thinking there are TV shows which have higher budget for one of their episodes. Like, or not, well,
Yeah.
maybe not 25 million. We're not talking Lord of the Rings TV show here, which is obviously going to be amazing, no doubt, but it's so stupidly high. You
Yeah.
know, Game of Thrones had like a 10-12 million dollar budget per episode sometimes,
Yeah.
and just this film, I feel really bad for it because I looked at it and I thought, okay, I like what you're trying to do. I didn't like the idea of mashing one and two, which I think we're definitely going to get into because I
Mm.
think because obviously you don't really know the narrative of them, but obviously
Yeah.
with Resident Evil 1, it's set before 2, obviously,
Yes.
and then the second game is about Claire coming to the city to find Chris because Chris has disappeared, and
Yeah.
it's set a little bit later, and then 2 and 3 pretty much take place over the same day or two, and I'm like thinking you've got and Jill Valentine from this film, she
Mm.
is in Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 3, so I'm thinking, well, why didn't you
Does she
just
not show up in two?
no, she doesn't show up in 2, no, because she was part of Chris's team in the
Right.
first
Yeah.
game, and it's just the fact, like, why didn't you just do 2 and 3 together? Now, obviously, you get chased by like the sexy Mr. X if you've seen all the PC mods.
Yeah. I was just thinking. Maybe the reason that's the case is because it's easier to rent a massive manor to do your film in than it is to secure rights to block off a city for a few days. So it could be something along those lines. It is cheaper to make that movie where they break into the I don't even know what you call it, the Raccoon Manor, Umbrella Estate.
In the film, people, right? This film, for some reason, it actually gives you time cards on the screen of how long time has passed. And it's not like an hour later, it's like 54 minutes later. It's like, it doesn't, and so let's go on to this manor talk, right? Like this house is supposed to be a big manor that you can explore on the top, and then you do go to this underground complex underneath. Okay, it's a big complex underneath. The first film got that right,
Hmm.
like and I'll be honest with you, that film still scares the shit out of me, and I'm still scared to go on elevators today because I feel like I'm gonna get my head chopped off as I'm coming out of an elevator.
I
It's
mean,
like
nobody likes getting in elevators after that.
no, and no, trust me. Like I've been in some wonky elevators where especially where we live, like the elevators just stop sometimes, and I'm like, I do not want to step up. And you may not know me that well, people, but a lot of people do know me. I'm very accident prone, and no doubt that would possibly happen to me.
Yeah,
And
man.
yeah, that is just so frustrating. So it's just seeing how the first movie, almost 20 years ago now, 19 years ago now, pretty much, got that right. They may have not got other stuff right, but they got that right. And looking at this film, maybe budgetary constraints and everything. This is why I think they should have focused on one game or focus on one game in one film, and
Mm.
then do that. You could have put the budget towards that because when you look at the lab in the film, it's like a room.
Yeah, I will admit that like that whole section where they're kind of in the house is more or less like the second half of the movie where they're rummaging around trying to chase up murder mystery. It just to kind of put this out there, it felt very Scooby and the Gang. Uh, just
Actually, I've
those
got a
guys walking around the place. But anyway, the whole lab sequence was just so weak in comparison to the Mila. Is it Mila Jokovic?
yeah, Mia Jokovic, I believe it is, yeah.
Mila actress name. Like that whole area, it felt like you were in this huge complex, and it was very daunting, right? But then this one, it was like you're going to Mr. Rich Man who lives in the corner of the village, and you're checking out his spooky house, and he happens to have an underground lab and tunnel.
I've got to cut in there because the funny thing is, right, Robbie Amell has been in a Scooby Doo film.
Really?
Yeah, I believe he did play Fred Jones. I swear I confirmed this, but I swear he played Fred Jones. So Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City. Let's bring it up.
Sorry,
So
which guy did he play in Resident Evil?
Chris Redfield.
Really?
So he played Scooby Doo not in one but two Scooby Doo TV show films as Fred.
Damn.
Yeah,
You
that
must have a
was
sixth sense for this sort of thing.
honestly, that was yeah. It's and to be fair, that was like over 10 years ago now. But
Mm.
yeah, no, it's just like yeah, you are right. It did feel like a Scooby movie to a degree. It was like we have to solve. I mean, the part like Claire comes to this town. Like she was originally coming to the town to find her brother, but now she's here to find out about like the Umbrella
So
Corporation.
I guess we should probably like rewind the whole thing a bit because we kind of jumped to the second half without discussing the weird start of this movie. So like Claire Redfield shows up in some weird man's truck. Like she's hitched a ride, and this guy and his dog are like going down the road, and then they hit someone in the road. And that it was just it felt very much like Halloween. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
seen the start of the original, but like
yeah.
that's a very similar sort of ploy where it's like they've shown up and there's just somebody in the road. Oh no. But the weird thing was is that they randomly decided that the trucker was a molesting type, and he grabs the girl's leg and she's like, don't do that. Obviously. And then they hit this woman. They get out of the truck and discover that she's on the floor. The dog randomly decides to lick up the blood, and then he goes back into the truck. The trucker's like, can you please not report this? And then Clara feels like, no, I'm just gonna walk back, or I can't remember what she does. She either gets back in the truck and then he drops her off in Raccoon City, or she just like is like, I'm not. Oh no, that was it. She did get back in the truck after he tried to assault her.
So I do have to come in here like that woman must have been a zombie at that point, right?
Yeah.
So why the fuck did she walk away and not try to eat them? She's standing in the tree line, look, creeping that though. I'm just like looking like you could just see in the tree like I can see ya, but I'm not gonna eat ya.
Yeah, that was weird. Plot device.
Maybe she was just teetering on the edge, but even then, like we'll get to the other part in a minute. The people in this town go fucking insane before they turn into zombies.
Yeah, that was a weird side plot. Was that? I mean, I again, this might be something that's more prevalent in the games, but like the way it kind of went about the whole infection is that everyone's got it. It was very Walking Dead. Everyone's got it somehow, except for some people, which they never explain. And then she gets to the freaking town and she finds her brother's house, and he's all like, "I don't want to associate with you. You're crazy. I hate you. I haven't spoke to you in 5 years." And then he fucks off to work. And while she's just hanging out, her crazy neighbors decide to attack her.
So I think there is a point in the movie where they show the tape and that guy explains, "Oh, it's in the water, Claire. It's in the water."
Oh yeah,
And
her
so
like friend on a Megal. Like,
yeah, and she said, "Well, why aren't you sick? Or why aren't these people sick?" And I think there is a throw in like, "Oh, we got injections or we got medicine from Umbrella." So it's like they have like they have the antigen in them or something. I think that's what's said in the film
oh yeah, I almost completely forgot that like Chris and Claire were like in an orphanage together with Umbrella.
with that creepy fucking girl.
Yeah,
With the fucking what the fuck, people, like it
it was like
is.
have you ever seen Children Under the Stairs?
No, I haven't.
Oh well, a very similar sort of film, but basically it's about these two kids that get abducted by some weird like psycho family, and then it turns out that there's these kids that live in the basement that like eat people, and one of them is like a good cannibal and like tries to help the kids escape. It's a weird movie, and this little girl that shows up, the creepy girl that doesn't actually live there but is there kind of thing. It was like, oh, I'm the psycho that's trying to help you.
Yeah, so that's Elisa Trevor, people, in the movie. So
Mm.
yeah, no, that is she. I mean, that I actually enjoyed the beginning of this film. I actually
Yeah,
like
same.
like the actual prosthetics was actually really good on her, and it gave me
Mm.
hope that maybe this film would have been good. But let's move on, people. Where John has just mentioned about the crazy people coming to attack.
Itchy tasty.
I mean, that is in the game. That is in the game, and
Yeah.
they do mention how people scratch themselves and eat parts of themselves because their mind's going and everything. But then she steals her brother's bike that she's explicitly told not to, but we know she's going to anyway because there's a nice tracking shot
I mean,
of that
in
happening.
fairness, I loved that bit. He's like, "Don't touch my bike," and then she gets like attacked by the crazy neighbor mom. The crazy neighbor kid is like, "You should be trying to get out of here. Like, my mom's crazy." And then she jumps through the back door, tries to attack her, fails miserably, and then Claire's just like, "No, I'm gonna take that bike.
And then she
I'm out."
stops. She puts the visor down, rides off onto the road near the house still, puts the visor up, looks back and has a look around, and then drives away. I'm like, nah, fuck that. Person want to eat me? I'm fucking off. I ain't stopping. I don't give a shit. And also, she pauses to look at the bike. No, get on the fucking bike.
Just
And
fucking go.
yeah, and then it goes like, and then we're introduced. I mean, I don't know if it's just before or after, but we're introduced to the person that a lot of people love in video games. So a friend of ours fucking hates him. So he's gonna love this film, Mr. Leon S. Kennedy.
Oh, he was great. I stand Leon.
Ah, fuck that.
He's so stupid. It's so adorable.
That's the fucking stupid thing. Like he is supposed to be not experienced. He's supposed to be incompetent, but he's not supposed to be a fucking idiot. And when you get to Resident Evil 4, as you know, he's working as a Secret Service agent. I would not want him protecting the president's daughter or going to a village. I'm not going to say where it is in the world because I've mucked up on that before. But people, he is our friend's gonna love this. He is a fucking idiot in the movie, and it pissed me off because it's just yeah. And then obviously at the same scene, we're introduced to Jill Valentine and Albert Wesker. Now,
Yeah, they're all in the diner just hanging out after work.
Jill Valentine has some like sociopathic thing. She's obsessed with guns and or stealing stuff, right? I know she has the past of being a cat burglar. That's actually in her past in the games. I want to believe. Let me just. I really should have brought this up, people. I'm gonna learn as we go along.
Well, while you're googling that, I guess I'll just mention that like I thought Jill's character, like the actress who portrays her, was actually really cool. Like none of the characters really look like how they look in the game, especially like Leon. But Jill Valentine, even though she doesn't look like the character, I thought she played it really well. She was a fun and engaging character to observe, and yeah, she was probably one of the better parts of the movie.
No, that's the thing. I really like the actress because she's been in a few things I like. She's been in Ant-Man and the Wasp. She's been in a TV show called Killjoys. She's pretty good in that. I really like. I did like her. I think maybe tone her down a bit.
Hmm.
Like she was a bit like on. She was just constantly on. She was, she
Hmm.
didn't have like an off switch, or not an off switch, but like a tone down switch.
Yeah.
And compared her to Claire, and Claire, it seemed like they wanted to just make a Claire Redfield film
Hmm.
mostly, and they put all these other characters in, which is really weird because Resident Evil 2, you could put one of the PlayStation discs in and you play as Claire. So it's just her story, and then why didn't they just do that? And maybe having like intersectional points of maybe like Chris appearing in like she picks up like audio files and she listens to it and it does a quick flashback sequence to the events of something, something like that.
Yeah, it felt very much like everything you were learning, we were kind of learning with Claire and with like some of the characters, but it didn't really explain a lot even then. So I felt like the entire movie we weren't really sure like what was happening. Like if I had not known anything about Resident Evil, I would have been like, what the fuck is happening? I would have been Leon, you know?
Yeah, but that's the thing, like, because they're going about how, like, he's the son of like some big high executive sheriff, like police
And we'll
officer or
never know
something.
who.
No, we'll never know who. But the thing is, though, what really annoyed me, like, they're coming to the town, which, as we go back to it, people, this ain't a city. It's a town. It's a village. It's like also, I'm just gonna bring it up. Is there one road out of Raccoon City that the Umbrella Corporation is blocking that people can't get out? Because
No, it was kind of like they tried to when they were trying to escape. So basically at one point they all try to evacuate because shit's going completely batshit. Like it's all going wrong, and the police chief doing the most courageous thing. He tells his men to go do something important, and while they're gone, he's just like, I'm just gonna fucking leave. And as he's trying to leave, every road out of the town is blocked. And he tries to take like a side street, but that's blocked too. And I felt like, was that the only other way to get out of this place?
that's what I'm trying to say, right? Because they do an aerial shot of the city. There's a river right by the town. There's probably so many. You could go straight through it, maybe into the forest. You could have took your chances that way. There's so many exits out of this town. Did raccoons? You never saw the Umbrella Corporation block every exit, whereas in the movie, the second film, Resident Evil film, they had barricades put down, like proper barricades, and you saw loads of people trying to evacuate, and Umbrella soldiers were on the walls, and then they were shooting people, and they were
Hmm.
rushing back into the city, so you knew you couldn't get out. And
Yeah.
like, and also in the games, Raccoon City is full of burning cars and destruction, and this city was empty.
Yeah. It felt like they had like 30 actors. And they were the complete populace of this town.
You could have taken like maybe 10 wrecked cars, gone to a junkyard, and bought like 10 to 20 wrecked cars for 200 quid or something. I don't know how much you could buy a wrecked car for. And
Mm.
repainted them for different sections, just piled them up. And put a bit of CGI fire on there. I've seen fan films online of people with fire that can look pretty good. Just
Mm.
reuse them, reuse the assets. That's the thing in the Resident Evil games. That a lot of the cars just looked the same. And of
Yeah.
course, we're talking games ages ago, but obviously in the remake, it's just stuff burning, buildings burning. You could have, what, it just annoyed me the fact that this was supposed to be like desperate, get out of the city. You've got 6 hours before, and also it's a nuke. It's supposed to be a nuke in the game. What was it in this film?
I'm not sure. Like it was it I guess the way they were kind of going about it was like Like when like you have like a lab and you need to get rid of everything in it. That was kind of the vibe. It was like a controlled incendiary, explosion within the parameters of the city, because it clearly wasn't that big, because it the guys just kind of walk away from it as if nothing
We're gonna
happened.
come to that. We're gonna come to that at the end.
But like I was gonna say that it felt a lot like it was like several streets put together
Yeah,
rather than a whole city. There wasn't even a single like tall building. It was just houses. Like every house was just, your regular bog standard bungalow essentially, or two-story house, and then they had the truck stop and the police station, and that was it.
I'd be fine with that though, right? As long as it was, packed up. Because when they were trying to escape and they broke up a shooting, there were a lot of cars there from the looks of it.
Hmm.
Well, at least 3 or 4 cars there, and there was, umbrella officers at the end shooting and everything. And I was thinking, okay, cool. Can we see more of this? The desperation of trying to escape, and just I don't know, just it's frustrating. Let's go. Let's take it back to like the mansion though,
Hmm.
and the fact that like the whole empty aspect. I mentioned earlier, people, that you time skip in this film. I think that's how they tried to detract us from the fact that this mansion wasn't big when they filmed it, because supposedly they were walking around that mansion for an hour in
Hmm.
these big hallways, and I'm like, no, you weren't. You did not find, and it took them over an hour to come across the first zombie, or at least a good chunk of time before they come across. And they do the ironic video turn, like the camera turn, well, the zombie turn, like in the first game. Give them that. I actually thought the zombie effects were pretty good.
Yeah, the
You
zombies
know,
look great.
yeah, it was it was a lot of prosthetics. I did not like the lighter scene. So basically, there's a scene in this movie where I keep saying Robert Mel, but Chris Redfield, he's got tons of zombies in. Don't watch this film if you're an epileptic, by the way. There's an entire sequence where it's just constant gunshot flashes in the dark, like
Yeah.
constant. And then he pulls this lighter out, and then you could see the zombie starting to come towards him. He keeps trying to turn a lighter on as the zombie's coming towards him, and then the zombie just disappears and then attacks him
Yeah,
from the
that was
side.
so dumb.
It was just like, come on, people, use a knife. You have a knife. You just go at him. If you could shoot people in the dark, the amount of zombies that were at him as well, you can knife someone that's coming at you. And if he's supposed to be immune, like what we think, surely getting bitten wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah, but is he 100% from sure that he is that? Because I know they mention about like they all got jabs when they were kids, and that's why they're magically immune from everything. But I mean, he's not immune to getting his throat ripped out, right?
I
So
mean, that is true.
that was what would happen if he just let him bite him to death. I mean, that's kind of reminiscent of the game, right? Because you can get bitten, but not. I mean, as
Yeah,
long as you don't let
exactly.
them keep biting you, right? So yeah, him getting bit, he would still be wary of doing so. Nobody wants to get bitten, right? But I just think it was a bit weird that the zombie suddenly had like enough intelligence to sneak around. I don't
Yeah.
know. It was the same as like that woman in the road, right? Where it's just like I've got the intelligence to get out of dodge and then stare at you from the trees.
Also, right, let's go to another. Yeah, the mansion, not that great. We've pretty much established that now. They do like try to put some of the aesthetic in there from the original game, which I thought was interesting, but it seemed very compact. Now we'll come away from that.
Mm.
Like, I think we're going on the aesthetic of the most now, people. But the police station was just was pretty much one, maybe two locations, three at
There's
most.
there's like four. You have the front desk, which I thought looked
Yeah.
really good.
Well, I had issues with that because it's as again, how much does it cost to put tons of newspaper or tons of just pile it up with junk? Like, because
Mm.
in the game it is stockpiled like just rubbish everywhere. It's just people have like tried to rush and they've it seems like an evacuation. Like it's busy. It was just pitch perfectly clean.
Then you got room number two, which is the kind of briefing room where they're all just kind of chatting, and fucking Leon gets told to fuck off during the briefing. And then you have the room where they keep all the weapons, and then you have like the jail in the basement or whatever the fuck that was. They were just keeping some dude in the basement all this time. That never gets explained either.
Two dudes, by the way.
Yeah, there's two dudes. That you've got Claire Redfield's Omega friend, and then you have just some random man.
So it's Bertolucci or Bertolucci or whatever how you pronounce it. I don't know how you
Mm,
pronounce it, but like in that he grabs the gun from Leon. He takes the gun off Leon when even though he's in the jail cell. Leon is that stupid that he lets a guy take a gun off him, and the guy he knows people are turning into zombies or some biomutation,
mm.
and he knows this guy next to him's mutating, and he turns his back to him.
Yeah. He's like, "Open the door, Leon, with your, oh, I've got the gun on you," but then never thinks to turn the gun on the literal zombie next to him.
And how many keys were on that chain to try and open
Thousands.
it? That
Thousands for the
was
4 rooms in that fucking
honestly,
station.
I would have had that gun on the person and looking at, straight at them. I'd be like, okay, open this fucking door now. I'm going to take this guy out. Just come on.
Like, I don't think he would even need to, like, wait. He could have just shot him, you
Yeah.
know? Like, it was already too late for that
Also, I'm
guy.
I'm going to tell you this now, right? A lot of people have said this. I've seen this over podcasts. I've spoke to people about it. The guy playing Leon should have played Carlos Oliveira, who is the character from Resident Evil 3, the main character, one of the main characters from Resident Evil 3 who you play as. He
Mm.
should have played him. There's nothing against the actor. I think I've seen the actor in other things, but he was miscast.
Yeah, he looks nothing like Leon.
No, all the other actors, even Wesker, who we'll get to that at the end, he at least somewhat you could see him as an early version of Wesker before he becomes what he is at the end, which we'll
Mm.
get to. But he was the oddball. He was. It seems like they tried to make this film as the Claire Redfield driving force, and he was just the bumbling idiot who actually gets to save the day at the end with a rocket launcher on an empty fucking train. Just yeah,
That
and
was epic.
in because we'll go forward people from this like his captain, as Jordan mentioned before, tried to get out of Dodge, but then he had to come back into the city because it was blocked. He gets saved by
Yeah, they
Claire.
they they formulate a plan to basically escape on the helicopter that they've already taken to the Umbrella Manor. So, for some reason, they've got this fucking tunnel that goes all the way from some orphanage school to the manor, and they're gonna just take the tunnel there. Um, However, that guy gets totally murdered by a liquor, which was great because I hated the guy anyway. And Lisa Trevor, is it Lisa Trevor?
Yeah,
She shows up and decapitates the liquor with her own like shackles, which was pretty lit, not gonna lie, but at the same time was just a bit, I don't know,
yeah.
e.
I just it's a case of the liquor in the game is supposed to be terrifying. Basically, in the game, you don't make a sound and you can get by the liquor. That's how it is. And in the film, she does tell him to shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
But
but she
no,
says it
he
to Leon, so
exactly. That's the point.
he's like, "What do you mean, shush?"
If she tells me to shush, I'm gonna be like, I'm just gonna exactly. It just went silent. That's exactly what I do. Silence. Because that's the thing, right? He sees that he looks up down this hallway and he sees the light. There's this entire row of lights because this is how you have to portray liquor appearing. This entire row of lights and the lights are starting to move as they come forward. Like they start moving. I'm like, you know something is up there, and yet he's still standing there. No, you get out of the way and you let it do its thing and you just be quietly out of there, okay, maybe you can make a sound eventually, like the classic you knock something, which is fine to do because he doesn't fucking talk if he does that.
I don't know. I want to be a bit of devil's advocate here, and I think if I was confronted with something that may or may not be a person, little lady with a sack on her head or whatever the hell she was wearing, and Claire is too busy dealing with something else, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, shush," like with their hand motion, I would be like, "Who are you?" I would be definitely the one who would get like fucked up clearly in any zombie apocalypse, but like I would initially think, yeah, I'm just gonna do the thing that she's asking me to do.
But she does say shush and point.
No, she doesn't say shush. She just puts her hand up.
No, she does go shh, and then she points, so she's
Okay.
directing him to shut the fuck up because something is there. Come on, man. Oh my god, it's just so frustrating because you know we're going from a guy who single-handedly saved the president's daughter in Resident Evil 4, and
Wait.
this
He hasn't done
badass.
that yet.
I don't give a fuck because I would never trust him to do. He can't even hold it. He can't even keep his gun on him. Just
Maybe
he's
that's his
so
whole arc, is that he learns how to use a
no.
rocket launcher and then he becomes a badass.
Wow, that is
Just to skip ahead a bit, to the manor. They like get to the manor, and this is what you were saying about the whole thing being compact. There's this whole sequence where a fucking helicopter crashes into the building, and who is it? Jill and
yeah.
Chris are like inches away
Oh,
from said
Wesker.
inferno, and oh no, sorry, it was Wesker and Jill are inches away from this massive inferno and don't get touched. Yeah, everything in the room is utterly destroyed and on fire.
Also, they so Wesker is sort of like betraying the team at this point,
Hmm.
and he has a palm pad or a palm
He has like
palm.
a fucking PDA,
Yeah, exactly.
like a
And that
BlackBerry,
PDA
telling
is
him where to go.
fine. That BlackBerry is fine. Like there's not a scratch on it. He just dusts it off. And then as John had said, like the helicopter comes in. They're a bit cut up, and they're like, "Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay." And and then he's like, "Come with me. I've took all this money. Let's go." And we
Yeah, I
could go
found
to
this
him.
secret door that's also still fine, and we're gonna go down it. And then Jill's like, "Wait, what the fuck? What's going on?" And he's like, "I've gotta go," and he just fucks off down this long tunnel that I don't understand goes underground somehow. But yeah, they run down the tunnel. Jill decides to go and find whoever is left alive, which is Chris, and the other guy whose name I've already forgotten, but he's totally gone as well, ripped to shreds by zombies.
Yeah, that was I want to say that was either it wasn't Brad. It wasn't Enrique. I've got all the names up here. I've got all the names up here, and I can't be asked. The guy
He
dies.
was very forgettable. He had like 3 lines, dude.
Yeah, and also you're going off about that running off thing. How long was that fucking corridor they
It
ran
didn't look
down?
very long, but it took them ages to get to the end of it, which turns out just to be, the Umbrella Corporation like shed laboratory that was just like a couple of rooms. It looked like um it looked like a kitchen, like a chef's kitchen in a restaurant. They had like a freezer in the back where Wesker kept samples, and that was it.
It looked like going to the science lab at school.
Hmm.
It pretty much looked like that, and you couldn't go into the teachers' area. They looked like they had that whole section there, and
Yeah, where they
yeah,
keep all the stuff.
and
That was also where the tunnel led to some other place too. It was a very weird setup.
so let's get to the let's get to the other character in this, William Birkin, or creepy man who steals kids from an orphanage.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, he is obviously, if you know from the games, he becomes the tyrant. And initially, I've got to say, when there's the whole sequence where he shoots and injects himself or whatever, and initially with the prosthetics and the minimal CGI, didn't look that bad,
It was
didn't
very accurate from what I've seen of the game.
it does it is like
He's
so
in. Is he in 2 or 1?
yeah, so it's in two, and there's Mr. X and there's Tyrant, or there's separate tyrants. There's multiple
Just as
tyrants.
a side note, I really wanted to see Mr. X, and they didn't, and I was very sad about that.
Wearing the sexy thong and everything, like rolling around, showing stuff like, no,
With his little chubby and
damn right.
emotionless face.
It's better than Thomas the Tank Engine in some of those mods.
Oh
That would have
God.
been, yeah, no. But going back to it, like the tyrant has multiple stages in the game, so he does start off like how he does in the film, and then he does evolve into a big blobby mess, like in the end in the film. But how the transition happened too quickly, and he's had the eye appear, but the eye was too small in my opinion.
Yeah, it was
Like
like the size of a small plate.
pretty much, the eye should have been big. The claws were okay, I'll give it that, but he just felt like insert evil guy.
Yeah, he didn't have as much gravitas as I was expecting. He was a bit meh. And then he, like, after losing his family, he's just kind of a bit crazy for a bit.
I mean,
Oh,
wait,
sorry, he loses his wife, and the
yeah,
daughter goes with them, and he decides to chase after them.
and yeah, because he's turning into the tyrant, and it's just Yeah, and also like he's like a sort of pseudo father, stepfather to Chris Redfield. Like, it's planted throughout the
Hmm.
film, like how he pushed him to go to the Umbrella Academy training or academy or whatever, and
He
this is
was
probably
like
why
scientist slash orphanage manager.
this is why Chris is sort of like immune to, possibly like immune to a degree, because maybe like they did some sort of experiments we don't probably know. I also love the fact that this actor, I've loved him in a ton of other things. He's been in Band of Brothers, he's been Damien Dark in the Arrowverse, he's been in the TV show Suits. I
Hmm.
just found out today he was the voice of Bruce Banner in the 90s Incredible Hulk TV show. Never fucking knew that. He was Dum Dum Dugan in the Marvel films and the TV shows as well. And I feel bad for him because he was in another video game property, Street Fighter Legend of Chun-Li as Bison.
I was just thinking actually, uh, thinking about all the characters that's in this. The only thing that I can think of that literally like you could cut her out and you would never really lose much plot. And I'm just thinking, I didn't care about Claire Redfield at all. She just shows up in between all of this and has like no meaning, especially in some of those sequences. Like her whole side plot was that, oh, I narrowly escaped getting experimented on as a kid, and it's like we never really find out what they mean about that. It just gets brushed under the carpet. She's just kind of the means to an end, i.e., to get to the tunnel, because it turns out Lisa Trevor knows where the tunnel is, and that's it. Like that seems to be the only reason she's there, because after that she doesn't really do much except maybe shoot a gun a few times.
Yeah, because in the movie she gives them a heart or club shaped key, you know, like from the game that you have to collect to unlock doors, because there's another reference in there. Oh, and by the way, people, for the experimenting thing, they decide to throw an entirely different game in the Ashford twins. I believe it's the Ashford twins. You
Hmm.
know, they decided to throw an entirely different game in there. And why we don't know. It's just this one sequence. Oh yeah, because it's Claire discovering the secrets of Umbrella and the
Mm.
wrongdoings of. This is what I'm trying to say. Claire Redfield in the original game, her only plot device was to come to town to basically her and Leon were on the same track. Claire Redfield was coming to town to find her brother. It was Leon's first day on the police job, or pretty
Mm.
much first day on the police job. They were literally neck and neck, same experience level almost. Actually, they may have had a bit of gun training, where actually Leon probably did, obviously, because
She's
cop.
like an
But
expert gun person, and Leon's just there like, I went to the academy and walked away with no training.
exactly, exactly. And you know they're in a gun locker in the bloody police station. She's the one sorting this stuff out, and he's like, "Oh, what do I do?" And then she gives him
What
the
is a
bulletproof vest.
trigger?
She gives him his trademark bulletproof Raccoon City Police Department vest. And it's just like, that's what I'm saying. I'm nothing against the actors at all. I really like the actors in other properties. And I see what they were trying to do with some of the characters. I really do. But I feel that they were doing too much.
Actually, now that I think about it, can you remember when he got the rocket launcher?
So it's saying there was a throwaway line. Oh, it was in the front compartment with the driver. I think that was the throwaway line. It was
Because
like,
yeah,
okay,
so he's saying that he got it from the train car from like the driver's seat. That makes
yeah,
zero sense.
I mean, yeah, it's just so basically we're gonna rambly talk. We've been talking rambly talk about this anyway, but the
Hmm.
end of the movie consists of William Burke turning into this huge CGI monster
That's
coming
from
onto the
two.
train. Yes, coming
He's
on
at
the train.
it's like is it an optional boss or it's like the secret final boss?
No, no,
You
no.
gotta
He's
fucking shoot him in
so
the train.
you do fight Mr. X and Tyrant. You do fight both of them. You do fight
Oh
two
yeah, I know. I
versions of
just
them.
mean the thing that he turns into. Isn't that an optional boss?
Can't remember if it is Mr. X mutated or if it's him, because Mr. X does mutate later in the game.
Yeah, there's like a whole thing where the end of something, corridor carriage, I don't know, and it's just a big face. That's what he turns into.
Like, yeah, he also, weirdly enough, the first film deals with the final fight taking place on a train with a liquor, and I'll tell you this now, that sequence was much better in my opinion.
Mm.
Like the liquor, also that
They build that
liquor,
up really well.
yeah, they give you hints, and also the liquor in the first film tied into the second film because that guy turned into Nemesis. So yeah, that's how that he mutated, which I thought was pretty awesome.
Hmm.
And but in this
They got
film,
that
it's
guy
just
from fucking Ugly Betty.
exactly yes. And I only watched that last year for the first time. Really great show. He
Hmm.
was really good. But 10 episodes in, I was like, I know you. Holy shit, you're on Nemesis. And yeah, but it's just like, and then this train is completely empty. And then Chris shoots Birkin in the multiple eyes with the weak spots, and then he should be dead. How much he got slammed against that train
Hmm.
sides. Too much there weren't any boulders to punch, Chris. Um, but yeah, and then they kill Birkin because Leon suddenly appears and he's able to, unlike a stormtrooper, actually hit something for once, and he actually fires the rocket launcher and kills Birkin, and the train derails. Oh no, sorry, kills Birkin, and the train stops, and then the bomb goes off in Raccoon City, and then Jordan, how does the film end?
They just fucking walk away. They kind of it made me think of like an 80s movie. I wanted like the Team America theme song to come on in the background because they just all kind of like stride out. Everyone's really happy out of this tunnel, and it's like the Inferno's like in the background somewhere,
So people
and that's it.
literally, yeah, literally, they walk out the tunnel. They don't even come close to the camera. They are mid shot away, and then the film just ends. It just
Oh
ends.
well, we forgot to mention the fact that after trying to kill Birkin and failing, Wesker is kind of left to sit there because instead of shooting a child for no good reason, um, he gets shot by Jill, and they kind of leave him there because he's like dying. Um, so he's still somewhere there, but in theory should be in a million pieces because he's immune to fire, I guess. So they're like fucking off, but then
Well, as I said, we are going to come to that in a second because they do sort of explain that. But yeah, and then they blow literally the entire town with this nuclear or gravitational, I don't fucking know, bomb. Because does the cow float?
hmm?
Oh, by the way, people, there's a lovely cameo by a cow in this in a field at the end when Raccoon City's going into the ground and plumbing into the ground. They zoom out to this lovely farm and there's just this cow having a nice time eating some grass. And then I don't know if he falls down or if he goes up and then drops down or like I
Yeah, it's
can't
kind of like
remember.
a shockwave goes up and then he gets like either
Yeah,
blown out of the shot or falls somewhere. I don't know.
yeah, that poor cow did nothing wrong. And I felt bad for it. Not a bad actor in the film. It's just like, yeah, and then they had this mid shot coming out, and then the film just ends. And I sat there, I went, I'm sorry, fucking what? That's how it ends. They're not gonna have like, they're not gonna have like an end sequence. Oh, at the end of the film, people, for some fucking reason, they have like a report come on the screen, but it's like in that that green from the 90s on the PC screens, but it's set over the screen. It doesn't go to black to see the type. It's high. It's over the shot of the film, so you can't. If you have visual issues, you're not going to fully see this text on the screen. Like and then it just ends. But that's not it, people. That's not the end of the movie
Nope.
because
No, they do a Marvel on your ass
and then you get to the end of the film and then you find out, people, that there's a body bag on a
on a
mortuary
gurney.
table on a gurney, and then the bag gets up and it's Wesker in the bag and he's alive, but his eyes are really hurting, and there's a mysterious person there who's been the person guiding him to get out of Raccoon City the entire time. And who's this person, people? It's Ada Wong. Ada Wong, people, who's more linked quite fondly to Leon Kennedy, the inept asshole in this film, and then to Wesker. We brought you back to life. There was some side effects, and
And I
then
brought you a pair of sunglasses.
because this will help with your eyes. And he goes into the corner, buck ass naked, and he's like, I've got to put these sunglasses on.
Just
And
imagine that for a minute. Just you're absolutely naked and all you're wearing is a pair of shades. Take that into the bedroom, people.
I mean, Terminator kind of might have done it a little bit, to be honest. Terminator does it better. Just at least they got dressed first, put the sunglasses on, and then
Yeah, man.
and then she says, "Oh, we've got plans for you" or something, and the movie just ends. By the way, people, I don't think they got plans for this film.
They're never
Um,
going to be plans for this film.
but wrapping up, people, wrapping up. Basically, I think this film should have been a TV show. I honestly think I should have think it been called the Raccoon City Chronicles. I think that's what it should have been called. It
Hmm.
should have been 2 episodes, The Mansion, 2 episodes, two. Sorry, 1 episode 2, maybe 1.5, and then it skips over to Jill, and the final episode is maybe linking Jill and Jill, Claire, and Leanna because they don't meet in the games, but it's a case of they could have if they're going to link them up, do it that way. And this movie was made for 25 million. They should have given it more money, double at least, in my opinion, because you could have done a lot more. I'll give it this. Some of the aesthetics did look good, like the Raccoon City Police Department front. They showed you the front of that police department a lot. I'll tell you that for sure.
Yeah,
Just to
there's a
show,
lot of there's a lot of Leon just looking out the window saying, "It's like, is all those crazy people gathering outside the police station a good thing? Should that be happening?" I mean, there is that scene where the burning dude shows up, and I thought that was really cool.
yeah, and oh yeah, he doesn't hear this really loud truck coming up to the police station because he's just listening to music the entire time, people, and it's just this film.
It's a classic. He's too busy listening to iTunes.
Right, I'll give this film credit for a few things, right? They do try to get some of the visual aesthetic in there. They do. They get references in there. They do too many references. That's a down point.
Mm.
But a lot of the casting was good. I thought, Claire, Jill, Chris, Wesker to a degree. I mean, Chris, you can't really fuck up. It's just a white, you know, American football,
Random man.
yeah, white guy. That's pretty much it. Leon, I don't know how you could have thought that. That's pretty much a 90s boy band guy. It would not have been out of place at all. But for some reason, they gave them like 90s aesthetic, but their clothing, their hairstyles, they weren't 90s, especially him. And just yeah, I'm really frustrated because I really wanted to give this movie, my hopes and my dreams, and I really wanted it to be
You
really
wanted
good.
it to be
But
good.
yeah, looking at the Metacritic score, the critics on Metacritic, right, gave this movie 44%. The user score is 3.6. On Rotten Tomatoes, now this is what annoys me. The tomato meter score is 30% for critics. It's 66% audience score. Now, I'll tell you this, right? If you are going in as a casual person, maybe you might enjoy this film. Just,
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking that it's like if you're someone like me who's not really played the games but has watched a lot of Let's Plays and has like a vague idea of the story, you might enjoy it more than someone who is like an actual fan of the games. Because there's enough in there that you'll be like, oh, I remember this. This is cool. But then if you're like someone who understands the story and knows all the characters' motivations and yada yada yada, then you're gonna have a hard time because this movie just goes completely zigzag all over the place in terms of the pacing and where characters are showing up and whether they should be there in the first place. But I don't know. I think 60%, 70% tops is like good enough in my opinion. It wasn't a terrible film, but it definitely wasn't a good film either. It is enjoyable because it's bad. It. But if I was to weigh it up with the original movie, I still think I prefer that one.
yeah, this is why I bought the original films because I think I'm gonna have to make an apology to those films. Like, I think I'm gonna go back and watch those films just to get to the end. Because also, they probably just went off their own track in the end. Like, we're just gonna do it our way and just get to the end and just have a good time. Because that franchise did make over $1 billion, so something was going right there. And I just think if they're gonna do more Resident Evil stuff, yeah, this is what I was just thinking the other day. They should have done Resident Evil 7.
Another movie.
No, 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 no. As in, like, they should have just done 7.
Oh, the game. Sorry, there's 6 Resident Evil movies.
Oh yeah, sorry, no. So they should have done 7. Totally new characters, so we're not linked to anyone else. So we're tied to Ethan Winters from the game. It's set in that house, that creepy house. You could have got, and it's set in a bog. That entire game, and then maybe some shipwreckage. The entire game. That I would have enjoyed that, and then just do his story because 8 is great. The game is great, and do his story. If you're gonna go, if either do
I mean,
that.
I would like that. I really enjoy the stories of that character, so
I tell you, some of the visual level aesthetics of the game, I won't go into spoil these people. It's brilliant, stunning, and they should have done that, in my opinion. Or just do Resident Evil 4.
Mm.
But
Again, I really like Resident Evil 4, though they could probably skip that whole section with Mini Napoleon.
yes, exactly. And because you've got fucking, like, Lord of the Rings style trolls. You've got, like, the entire castle section, and also, people, the budget doesn't actually have to be back big for that, because a lot are set in villages. Just reuse those villages, those stacks and everything, and then the
Well,
half is
even
in the
if you're just
castle.
doing 7, it's just a house, you know? You just need to make a big old house. The house in that game is bigger than all the manor.
Yeah, exactly. That's the funny thing. In this movie, the manor is smaller than the book, the game, the house in that fucking game. I always say to people, right, if you're listening to me, people, and you're going to do another Resident Evil film or a fan film, you know, do 4 if you're going to. Just skip to 4. Don't do 5. Don't do 6. Go to 7. Go to 8. Do those. Do those 3 games, and also, you can't fuck those up, because it's literally giving. This is what I don't understand. It's giving you the story, and also the Resident Evil games are supposed to be cheesy B. They're supposed to be B horror style things. I just think, do a small mini series. I think it would have been much better, in my opinion, that way. It would have given you time. Would have given you pacing. You could have stretched stuff. This is the time where you could have stretched stuff out over
Yeah.
over a longer period to get more stuff in there.
You could have done like a Game of Thrones 10 1-hour episodes sort of deal, and you
Like The
could have,
Last of Us.
yeah, just get it all in one section. I definitely think they could have done it all just in 10 episodes and then end it there, because I don't know. I feel like the whole Ada Wong shit, it's like it wasn't needed. You could have easily just been like, Wesker's a baddie and he's betraying the guys, and let him like run his demise, but they didn't really give you enough information about what would happen next for it to be worth pursuing.
No,
But they're like, oh yeah, we're going to totally do another film, there's a hint at the end of this, but then it's like, this film's not going anywhere because it won't have made enough money.
it's made about $32 million now. So it's only made $7 million over its budget. Now, I believe this is from the cinema. So I don't know how it's doing on streaming, and because that could help it. Because another thing is, Netflix is doing a Resident Evil TV show with Lance Reddick. I want to say, as Albert Wesker, and it's set in the present day and the future at the same time. Like, it's set, his daughters. One goes down a dark path, I believe, and the one and it doesn't. It's set 20 years apart, so you see both sides of that. That sounds like an interesting concept.
Hmm.
And I've got faith in that. Okay, maybe not after Cowboy Bebop, which also that frustrates me as well, because that show got cancelled, and that was trying to be more faithful and fair than this film.
I wholeheartedly disagree with that, but
Well, we'll get into a
I will
conversation
ask you
about that
this,
another
Nate.
time.
I guess on a scale of like 1 to 10, what would you give this movie?
See, I'm usually a lot of people. I'm usually favorable to films. I'm usually known as the person who,
You're very forgiving.
yeah, this this is really awkward. I've got to give it a 4.5, 5 at most. It's
See,
not going
I would
above a
say
5.
5 is also an okay rating to give. It's like you can see they gave their I mean, oh, I agree. Like 5 is reasonable because 5 is like they tried. They didn't do very well, but you could tell that they were trying in some ways. It feels like to some degree, maybe there was somebody telling them they couldn't have all the things they wanted, so they just cherry picked the things they could.
They cherry pick too much.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I haven't played enough of the games, but
As I said, they tried to do
it'd
the
be cool if
prophecy.
they could work the stuff from the original games well into the plot. That would have made more sense rather than just having lots of stuff from the
Yeah,
games that people can go, oh, I know what that is.
yeah, because literally, as I said earlier, the key. It was just that I think that actually worked, because it was just a quick shot of the key, and oh yeah, cool, that's the key from the games and whatnot. Awesome. But again, the diamonds, fuck that. But yeah, no, just yeah, it gets a 5 at most. A four point
Yeah,
five five, and I'm only
yeah.
doing that because I think some of the actors were really good. Well, not really good, but they were cast well, but they weren't directed. Maybe not even directed well. I think maybe there was. I don't know how it was went with that, but also Leon is just the I feel sorry for the actor, because I have seen him in other things, and also ironically he was in Zombieland 2, so he was
Hmm.
in another zombie property.
No, I definitely think they made a decent effort. Like they did try, and I got to give them some props to that. It did make me feel it was more Resident Evil, even if I don't remember it that much. But it definitely succeeded in being different to the original like Resident Evil movies. And I think one of the things that kind of plagues a lot of the film industry right now is just reboots that are just like the same fucking movies again. But this didn't feel like the same movie. It felt like it was in the same world, but it was like completely different. And I got to give it credit for that.
See, that's what I'm going to say, right? Like, this is why I had the hopes for the film, because I saw the initial trailer. It looked creepy. Obviously the girl, Lisa Trevor, like the prosthetics and everything looked creepy. It looked like it could be good, but I feel like the film just, some of the casting choices, or not even just the casting choices, some of the direction choices for some of the characters was poor. I feel that they did essentially make this driven to more characters than others, which it shouldn't have been. I feel tons of characters were put in when they shouldn't have been. Some characters aren't even in this film. That should have been like Mr. Burton himself. I can't remember Barry Burton, I believe. And they should have been in this film. And I think they should have done 1 and then 2 and 3 together, because that would have been better. I don't understand why they did 1 and 2 together. Just get this out. I don't know if they maybe plan to do 3 or 4 next. Maybe like have an offshoot. But yeah, this film gets a 4.5 out of 10 out of being a nice 50% rating. So I'm gonna give it lower than the Rotten Tomato score, but definitely higher than the Metacritic user score. So yeah. That is it, people. That is our Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City spoiler discussion. We kind of went all over the place a little bit, but that just shows our passion for the discussion. It was, it was something to behold. That's
We had
definitely
a lot
something.
of feelings,
A lot of feelings to be said.
mostly
We
laughter during watching this film.
There was definitely a lot of laughter. But yes, people. So obviously with our podcast now, we're doing our main shows releasing every Friday. We're going to start sporadically putting in possibly some extra podcasts midweek. These won't be every week, but definitely look and check them out. We'll be doing some special episodes. In the future, we will definitely be doing a few adaptation episodes, including like what sort of TV shows would you like to be adapted from a game, or from a game, movies or film, or what sort of games would you like? What sort of games would you like to be adapted from a movie? So the complete opposite. We're probably going to be doing that around when the Uncharted movie comes out in a few weeks' time, because I'm definitely looking forward to see where that's going from. Because I believe, Johnny, you've played some of it.
Of Uncharted.
Yeah.
I have hot takes on Uncharted, but yes, I am familiar.
Yeah, so that's actually going to be a discussion inside of mishmashing, because that's a conversation as well, and that'll be in a few weeks, people. So yeah, definitely look forward to that. We will also be having some reviews coming up for Dying Light 2, Sifu, and eventually Horizon Forbidden West. Because as if you listen to the video game episode, somehow I'm able to get through these 60-hour games quite quickly. I don't sleep, but I will be able to do it. So yes, people, we will be going into our next topic. Will be next Friday. Will be looking into 2022, including what we're looking forward to, movies, TV shows, and video games wise. What we're going to enjoy. Have you got anything, Jordan, that you're possibly looking forward to coming up this year?
I mean, given our previous discussion regarding games that got us through 2021, it'll be the next Valheim update.
Yeah.
So they're going to be bringing in lots of new content. First and foremost being the Mistlands biome expansion. Again, it's just a free update, but yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that.
Well, I definitely look forward to seeing what your opinions are, and definitely check that out on Friday, people, when we release that on Spotify and iTunes. Right, that is it, people. If you'd like to get in contact with us with any questions or queries, feel free to email us at nmipodcast@outlook.com. That's nmipodcast@outlook.com, or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at nmicast. That is nmicast. Please join us next week as we delve into that 2022, as we look forward to that. Anyway, really glad. Thank you for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of your week. Please stay safe. Thank you again for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man. It's been really great. I've been your host, Nate. You stay safe, everyone. I will see you all next week.